It was the World Rugby End of Year Awards on Sunday, which we all always agree on, don't we? Welcome back to the channel. That's what I'm going to be having a chat about. The men's and women's players of the year, the sevens ones as well, and the coach of the year. I'm going to leave the team of the year in 15s because at some point in December, I would imagine I will do my own team of the year. But welcome back. Comment down below as always. Let me know what you made of the winners, if you agree, if you disagree. Also, like the video, and I'd love it if I earn your subscription as well. Before I get into the individual award winners though, what a great year it's been. Well, I think both domestically, internationally, we've had some brilliant matches, brilliant competitions. Rugby is a sport which has its issues. We know that, particularly if we want to start talking about the finances. But in terms of the product on the pitch, I look at the domestic game in how the URC finished, the Premiership, the Champions Cup. There's a lot of good stuff, not to mention the amount of good international matches. I've been making notes for like the last few months on kind of my moments and matches of the year. Tell you what, looking at the list now, I'm going to save it for a video later on in the year, but there's some pretty good games there. Maybe let me know what's been your highlights. But overall, I think it's been a great year. Not to mention, by the way, the Olympic Sevens, which was a great competition. I know, again, Sevens is an element of the sport that has had its issues and problems and finding its identity. In terms of the Olympics, I watched every single game of both the men's and the women's competitions. It was brilliant. So let's get into it then. Players of the year. Let's start off men's player of the year, Pieter-Steph de Toit. Picking up his second one of these awards, also won it in 2019 after the World Cup triumph, and he's won it again here. It automatically puts you in kind of rarefied air, doesn't it? So the award's been going since 2001. Richie McCaw, Dan Carter, Bowden Barrett have all won it multiple times. So has Pieter-Steph de Toit. Is he going to go down as one of the greatest back rowers of all time? I think he might do. Look, he's completely deserving of it, isn't he? I will admit, I was a little surprised that they opted to give it to him. I thought it was going to either be Cheslin Kolbe or Eben Etzebeth. Don't know why, that was just my kind of gut instinct on this year, on where their stock was. Like, Pieter-Steph is always brilliant, he always has been. He never drops below a certain level of performance, which is incredibly high. He turns up in the big moments, but I just wondered this year whether it would be someone like an Etzebeth who would get it, who still never won it, by the way, which I find a little bit mental, or a Cheslin Kolbe, who I think has been sensational as well. I'm not saying Pieter-Steph de Toit doesn't deserve to win it. I was just a little surprised. And I always think it was going to be one of the three South Africans, as good as Kildunne has been. So Pieter-Steph de Toit, one absolute unit of a bloke. In terms of the women's category, it went to Ellie Kildunne. I got no complaints there. She had an absolutely mega Six Nations. She was scoring tries for fun. She transitioned over to the sevens for the Olympics. Team GB didn't do all that well, in all honesty, but overall I think she has been excellent, in particular in that Six Nations for England. So no complaints here. I thought Ellie Kildunne is one of the players that you tune in to watch if you're watching the women's game. If you follow the women's game, you will know. If you don't, keep an eye out for a World Cup year coming up next year in England. She will be, I would imagine, one of the stars of that England team who are going to be the heavy favourites to win it at home. See if they do, though. They were heavy favourites last time and ended up losing to New Zealand. But for me, both of the Players of the Year awards in the men's and women's, you can't really argue too much against it, even though I was a little surprised that it was Pieter-Steph that won it. Let's get on to the sevens. Antoine Dupont for the men, Maddison, Levi for the women. Now again, I'm going to come on to Dupont. I want to mention Maddison, Levi. Again, I don't know how many of you kind of watched the women's game or watched too much of the sevens at the Olympics. She is an absolute athlete. Like, she is blockbuster. It almost looks like she's like 18 and she's playing a load of under 14s. Like, she's that much better than everyone else. Part of an Australia team that actually would be pretty disappointed to have not have won the gold medal. I thought they would have done. They didn't get to the gold medal match. But she, for me, covering, as I say, the Olympic sevens, was almost, in terms of the women's category, my favourite part of it. Like, just watching her tear up was brilliant. Do go and search her out. Search out her highlights. If you haven't watched her before, Maddison Levi is a name to remember. I think she also used to play AFL, like Aussie Rules, over in Oz, one of these just freak athletes that's incredibly good at a number of different sports. So I was pleased to see her win it. And then let's have a chat about Antoine Dupont. The guy's a joke, isn't he? First of all, I think both of these awards are bang on. And Dupont's a funny one because he played a handful of tournaments, won them all, came into the team for the Sevens, and scored a hat-trick in the gold medal match, or completely turned around that gold medal match for France, end up winning it, their first gold medal on the opening weekend of a home Olympics. Like, what an unbelievable moment that was in a packed-out Stade de France. Maybe exercised a few demons from the World Cup the year before, probably not fully of that quarter-final defeat to the Box, but even so, a great moment, and just emphasising how unbelievable Antoine Dupont is. Like, we know, we've seen him win the Men's Player of the Year, we've seen him be in the 15 of the year for countless years in a row now. He has been the best 9 in the world, he's probably the best player in the world in terms of his all-round skill set. But I still think there's a lot of top quality 15s players that wouldn't just be able to pick themselves up, plonk themselves into a sevens environment and dominate, or had the impact that he was able to have. I suppose Hugo Keenan tried it for Ireland, didn't he? But Dupont came in and was the difference between that French team being, I mean, is it unfair to call them a kind of mediocre sevens team? Like, they're not absolutely tearing it up regularly on the world circuit. He comes in, they're winning world sevens titles, not overall in terms of competitions, and then they're winning the gold medal. He's awesome. He's absolutely brilliant. He's brilliant for the sport. And I think him and Maddison Levi are worthy winners. The final thing I will mention is the Coach of the Year, which went to Jerome Daré, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, who is the France Sevens head coach, which kind of, based upon some of what I've said for Dupont, you can understand it. I mean, he rebuilt that programme, took them from a team that probably weren't really fancied to a team that ended up winning gold. It's not all down to Dupont, although actually I think it doesn't happen without Dupont. I think he is the key cog there. So credit to Daré. I still think this is one of these awards where it is justice for Razzie, isn't it? Like, the guy is clearly the best coach in the world. He is clearly, I think, the most progressive, visionary thinker from a coaching perspective that we have in the game at the moment. He's coaching the best team in the world on the men's side in South Africa, who have had a sensational year, winning the Rugby Championship, beating pretty much everyone. They lost a couple of games, didn't they, to a strong Ireland team, and then a game in the Rugby Championship that they rotated. But overall, a brilliant year. For me, Coach of the Year is Razzie, but he doesn't quite seem to get the credit he deserves sometimes. I think South African voices might have a few things to say about that, but for me, that should be Razzie Erasmus. As I say, I'm going to get into the 15s Team of the Year probably in December, because I'm going to do my own, so I want to kind of contrast and compare. Just on that, actually, is there something about this year that makes it really difficult to categorically have a 15s Team of the Year? I know these things are subjective, but to me it feels like there are a number of different positions that there isn't an absolute standout. Like, you almost have 6 names that you could all name in a team without one of them being an absolute standout. Some positions, like a Colby obviously gets in, an Etzebeth obviously gets in, a Pieter-Steph gets in. Trying to think of some for other nations. There will be some. But like, in the absence of Dupont playing sevens, who's your 9? Probably Gibson Park. If you're picking a fly half, who's your fly half? I mean, New Zealand have kind of switched between Bowden Barrett and Mackenzie. Marcus Smith's been good for England. South Africa have chopped and changed. See, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I think that's why I'm going to park that and do that video at some point later down the line. But let me know. Comment down below anything I've touched upon in this video, any names that you would say absolutely have to go in a 15s Team of the Year. Put that in the comment section. Like the video as well. Hit that subscribe button. And I will see you in the next one.